In the air, it's stealth, but taking off in Asian waters, its roar is loud and clear. A message to China and North Korea that the U.S. has placed its most high-tech fighter within striking range. This month, combat ready at sea, these stealth marine fighters could quickly launch and land nearly undetected by enemy radar. With these vertical landings, F-35s turn amphibious assault ships into mini aircraft carriers. It's a new capability. The $120 million planes are arriving at sea after major cost overruns and delays. There have been some problems with this plane. Is it really ready to fight tonight?
Our aircraft and our squadron is ready to fight and win at any moment that our nation calls upon us.
And that means fight tonight?
Yes, sir, fight tonight.
The military says the technology is a quantum leap.
Stealth fighters from the sea teamed with a broader Navy group of ships.
This aircraft designed to outfly and outsmart fighters from Russia and China. But the more immediate threat is from North Korea, and next month, war games with allies. Is the Wasp going to take part in those training exercises?
What I will tell you is we operate routinely with all of the partner navies in the region.
Awaiting orders, the F-35Bs are sending a strong message simply by their presence. Hans Nichols, NBC News, aboard the USS Wasp in the Philippine Sea.
Out of North Korea, the nation's state-run news agency announces the atmosphere is right for reconciliation.
I think that their history over decades is that they, like Iran, like others, use negotiations to buy time to conceal their nuclear weapons and ballistic missile activity. So the meeting with President Trump, when it comes, I think will be a real opportunity to say, to see whether that's the same policy they're pursuing as they have so many times in the past. They've repeatedly committed to give up nuclear weapons, and they've repeatedly lied about it.
At a conference in Seoul, North Korea analysts note the leadership in Pyongyang uses a term for denuclearization that has multiple meanings.
They translate shut down and freeze, and also suspension and shielding, and also disabling into the same word in Korean. 가동 중단.
Many suspect that Kim will only agree to freeze or marginally reduce his nuclear and missile arsenal for relief from harsh U.S.-led sanctions. North Korea in the past also demanded the withdrawal of U.S. forces in Korea as a condition to give up its nuclear deterrent. The U.S. is not likely to agree to either scenario. Trump himself has said there is a risk that his unconventional approach to diplomacy in agreeing to a summit before any terms, progress, or outcomes are set could fail. However, beginning with talks at the highest level could also produce a mandate that would drive the process forward.
The commitment to denuclearization from both sides, from top down, then opens up a path towards diplomacy and a path towards the negotiation of those details.
Even though the U.S. insists there will be no concessions until concrete denuclearization measures are taken, South Korea could provide an economic incentive by seeking an exemption from sanctions to reopen the jointly run Kaesong Industrial Complex.
Sanctions, or the loosening of sanctions, is what we declare it to be.
North Korea is estimated to have approximately 30 nuclear weapons, hundreds of medium and long-range missiles, and is continuing to produce fissile material at both its nuclear reactor in Yongbyon and in hidden uranium enrichment facilities. It would likely take years to negotiate verification details, access for international inspectors, and to complete the dismantlement process.
Tokyo's Foreign Minister Taro Kono, when he was in Washington, asked that the U.S. only meet with Pyongyang if the regime is willing to abandon its medium-range missiles and resolve the issue of its kidnappings of Japanese nationals in the 1970s and 80s. Kyoto's sources said those preconditions were rejected as unrealistic when Kono met with incoming Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Defense Secretary James Mattis, and others.
Continues the pattern we've seen now nearly for 2 weeks that North Korea has not made any public statement about a Kim-Trump summit. So, as I say, I think this is internally directed. It remains worrying to me that the North Koreans haven't said anything publicly. I assume that that the administration is pressing South Korea and maybe through other channels North Korea pretty hard to make sure we know exactly what they offered.
It's also my understanding that although they have agreed to talks with the American delegation and the president, they have not agreed that denuclearization is going to be one of the topics. If they leave that off the table, should the president still go?
South and North Korea are due to hold a potentially historic summit next month, and to prepare, the North has accepted a proposal from the South to hold high-level talks this coming Thursday. There are some important details to settle for the meeting that'll bring together the leaders of the two Koreas for the first time in a decade. Lee Ji-won has more.
Preparations are picking up steam for the historic meeting between the leaders of South and North Korea. On Saturday, Seoul's Unification Ministry confirmed that Pyongyang has agreed to hold the pre-summit talks on March 29th at the Donggak Pavilion on the northern side of the truce village of Panmunjom. This comes 3 days after South Korea proposed the talks via the communication channel at the truce village. The North also revealed that its three-member delegation will be headed by Lee Sun-won, chairman of the Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of the Fatherland. He's the same official who led the North's delegation in early January for the first inter-Korean talks in more than 2 years. Seoul's Unification Minister Cho Myung-gyun will lead South Korea's delegation. South Korea's two other delegates will be selected from the Presidential Office of Cheongwade and the National Intelligence Service. The Unification Ministry said the names of the two other delegates from both Koreas will be exchanged through the communication channel in the truce village. South Korean officials say a meeting has been arranged to nail down the exact date and time of the April summit, along with initial talks on the agenda. In regards to the summit agenda, the South Korean government is aiming to include denuclearizing the Korean peninsula, ways to permanently maintain peace between the two sides through the alleviation of military tension, and ways to develop inter-Korean ties. April's summit will be the third of its kind between the leaders of the two Koreas. The previous meetings took place in 2000 and 2007.